Let's talk about AEW on Wednesday night. And the opening match we have long awaited for. And I'm going to tell you, there was still stuff wrong with it. But I've got to say this at the top, so maybe people will listen all the way through. Jon Moxley and Hangnail Page, this was the best match that I've seen either one of them have with anybody else, much less each other. So let's just provoke people at the start and then get into it. And they were in the LA Forum. What is it now? Somebody's got the naming rights. The Kia Forum.
Hot crowd.
The crowd was hot. And this is where the AEW fans are tons more engaged than the WWE fans. There's more WWE fans. They don't go as fucking crazy as the individual AEW fans. And again, at least Moxley's music, it's real music. People have heard it. It's not the standard fucking generically written. I'm not even knocking Jim Johnston now, but just generically written instrumentals on WWE. He's got real music. It's a song you can sing. When he comes out through the people, blah, blah, blah. If you like that kind of thing, for the kind of people who like that kind of thing, that's the kind of thing those people like. Hangnail comes out with that fucking off-brand, not country, not really whatever the fuck, elevator music, and his flat-ass personality, and he's as flat as 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But
his music ain't that bad. The people pop for it.
Well, they pop because they know who it is. Would you put that on a loop for about 10 minutes, have to listen to it and see what you'd fucking do? Commit aggravated mayhem, most probably. Anyway, but at the bell, they started as a fight. And yes, it's two baby faces. But they've got they've insulted each other in their way, in their fashion over the last several weeks. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm thinking something's going to happen. Moxley is working and acting like a heel, facial expressions, the way he's going about things. Think maybe he's going to lose and he's going to turn on this guy and he's going to actually be a fucking heel instead of just acting like one. Maybe that's what's going to happen. So, and Moxley got heat on Page in this match, and Page was in the position where he was fighting back.
I think Moxley is the heel.
Yes. It just, has anybody bothered to tell Moxley or anybody else? That's so and where does Claudio fit in? And what becomes of the rest of the Blackpool Combat Club, those little orphans on the street in the Charles Dickens novel? But anyway, they've got a sturdier railing. Apparently, somebody either talked to them about potential lawsuits or they want to hurt their talent even worse because they're protecting the fans, but this thing looks harder to hit. And Page made a point of cutting the flip on the clothesline that he fucked up a while back and knocked himself goofy. But anyway, it was a slobber knocker. And they still did the forearm trade and everything, but it had more oomph in it than their normal stuff does. They didn't go to the floor constantly. Moxley didn't bleed because he got looked at crosswise. There was not a ton of furniture. This was a fight, and I thought they did a good job. At one point, Moxley hit a really good pile driver and got a 1 count. So again, they can't help themselves at some points. And then when the fans started chanting for Page, Moxley gives him a double bird and mouths "fuck you" on camera. He's got to do it, doesn't he?
He's the heel. Well, I mean, beyond the cursing. See, I told you he's a heel, but yeah, shouldn't be cursing on TV.
But again, yeah, he's a heel, all right, especially to the fucking, network that's trying to fucking hit the fucking button and censor him properly or whatever. And then they were having, like I said, a real good match. Then comes the double bird, and I'm not even talking about to the fans. Yes, Austin got it, but just this guy is constant with it. And he doesn't have Austin's appeal, and he doesn't have 10 million people watching him on his network. That's how Austin was able to get away with it. When you just got this guy that's constantly saying fuck on your air for no good reason even, and flipping the bird, they're going to have a talk sooner or later with his... Anyway, what I didn't understand then was that Page hit his dead eye, where he picked Moxley up and dropped him on his head, and Moxley just jumped up and hit the ropes and curb stomped Page and then fell over selling. And I wrote, they've had me till right here. I don't know what the fuck that was. But then forearms and headbutts and a slap fight. And then Page hit the big clothesline and hit his buckshot lariat. 1, 2, 3. And there was a big pop from the people, and the guy with the sign that says Uncle Dave fears Corny held it up, and everybody was jubilating. They were jubilating, baby. And then Page is celebrating, and I'm thinking, well, this is where Moxley, fuck you, because they have an afterbirth in every match in AEW, right? And the heels got to get heat after regardless of what happens. But here, no, the doctor comes in, checks on Moxley. Page walks off. Moxley's confused, doesn't know what happened. So there was no turn and there was no extrapolation of this thing, but it was the best Moxley or Page match that I remember. For those because there wasn't just ridiculous blood, the furniture, and on the floor, they had a fight and some semblance of a match. What'd you think?
I really liked it. I mean, there were things I can nitpick with. I hate Moxley driving the elbows down on his opponent and never looks good.
But yeah.
And there are little things, but I can't really nitpick. Good match, hot crowd, makes a good match even better. I really liked it. And I've been very positive about Dynamite the last few weeks, and it continued into the opening match on the show.
Well, actually, and it continued for a while here. And here's the thing. Okay, I'll even buy that. If Moxley got knocked out and didn't know what had happened and Page won and he's going to come back next week and fucking be mad about it or whatever. But at some point, doesn't he have to actually officially become a heel and just start acting like one and being programmed that way? Or can we just forever him be just a miserable son of a bitch who doesn't like anybody?
But you know what? Look at it on the other side. He's all mixed up after the match. Adam Page walks off slowly, concerned about what's going on, thinking about something. He just went through this thing. We've gone through over 3 years of the emotional and anxious Adam Page. At some point, he's just got to stop doing that.
Well,
I know it plays into this a little bit, but after this feud, just have him either be a badass or just be a family man, whatever it is, just no more of the emo Adam Page.
Well, no, I think that's him. I think he is constantly confused and conflicted and doesn't know what the fuck's going on. But we had 3 years of that, and that's why Page is nowhere near over to any significant degree. He's, the people who already are going to be there and like him. And he's been blah, because he was a drunk and he was conflicted and he was blah, blah, blah. If he can have matches like that, he could be an ass kicker, except that he doesn't have the personality for it. He's got a closet full of jeans with butterflies on them. And he's got butterflies in his head, too.
See, because you look down the road, and they're building Adam Page up for something. Let's say he does something with MJF months down the road. That's my fear.
Ugh.
It'll be great for a certain aspect, but it'll play into this whole emotional Adam Page thing. And that's the thing. It's been over 3 years of this shit. Eventually it's got to be okay, I've now paid bills. I'm a grown up. I'm ready to go. It doesn't play well on wrestling to me.
Mom helped me move into my apartment. All right. Next up, Tony Schiavone in the ring introduces Adam Cole, who we haven't seen in forever. And we missed him because he went away and he got a big pop. And the people hit all the music cues. They haven't forgot about it on his entrance and everything. And obviously, because people know he has been legitimately injured, they were glad to see him. And remember I can't honestly remember who was supposed to be the fucking heels when he and Kyle and Fish and the whole Undisputed Era, practically, except Roddy, were involved with the Buckaroos and their camp and ilk. But obviously, he got a completely babyface reaction, and should, because he's coming back from legitimate injuries and he's got personality. And son of a gun, looked like he'd either found the tanning bed or some of that cream. But when he gets in the ring, of course, now Tony Schiavone was completely gone. He introduced him standing in the ring. By the time Adam gets in the ring, he's gone. And Adam does the whole thing himself as a stand-up. But he talked about his injuries. He's always been well-spoken. I've mentioned how natural he was at promos when he was 19 years old. And he did the sympathetic promo. And the fans were chanting, Adam Cole, Adam Cole. And I'm trying to think, he's obviously a babyface here. Now I'm trying to think, are they going to be able to fuck up a returning babyface hero with the booking? But anyway, he did the fired up finish because he had good news and bad news. Well, the bad news is not for me. It's for the locker room because I'm back. Big pop and a fired up finish about coming back to be the best. New Adam Cole is born. He took his time with this. He delivered the material. There was no attack on him, thank goodness. No interruption. It was real material. It was a great message. You're not used to seeing shit like this on AEW television that doesn't come from CM Punk. So, since Kyle apparently is still hurt, Fish is gone. If Adam's going to be able to come back and he's got this level of support right now and can talk like that as a babyface, again, I say certainly to God they can't fuck this up, but they fucked up his first debut and it never recovered. And then he got hurt, so maybe they've got a second chance at this. But this was everything it needed to be. What'd you think?
Well, I'm not the biggest Adam Cole fan, but I thought this was an incredibly strong promo, especially for that hot room. It is the rare chance to get a restart. He's not going to be saddled with Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, and that's not meant as a shot at Kyle O'Reilly, just more of something.
A shot at Bobby Fish.
Well, something we've seen for years and years and years. Let's see something different. Babyface Adam Cole. I hate to be superficial like this. Yeah, if he shows up with a tan, if he looks like he at least works out once or twice a week, that'd be great.
And say, we're not talking about since he's been injured. He looked pretty emaciated before he got hurt. That was our issue back then. We're not saying he should have been working out like a madman with a fucking serious concussion.
Here would be my concern. A guy who could deliver a promo like that, a guy who could have great matches, although he really needs to be tighter with his fucking thigh slaps. They're really just egregiously obvious. He could do something. That's a guy, imagine a program with him and someone who could talk like that, and MJF and someone who could talk like that. Boom, there it is. And you know what? They're not that, boom, quite literally. And they're not that different in height, that far apart, so it would look good, it would make sense, it would be good. My biggest issue with Adam Cole and AEW has been he went there, and he immediately went into the Bucks locker room. And we saw how the booking of Adam Cole went. And I don't think the biggest Adam Cole fan could tell me, even with the Adam Page match, that the booking of Adam Cole from the moment he got there until he got hurt was good.
Oh, no, it was a fiasco.
It was horrible. But that's also because of the camp he was playing ball with. We didn't see Adam Cole and CM Punk. We didn't see Adam Cole and Darby Allin. I mean, we didn't see a lot of different things. Maybe if we did see him and Darby Allin and I don't remember it, I'm sorry. But I think you want to see him in the mix with different people. If it's just going to be him playing with Matt and Nick again, and then him doing something with Omega again, or him, whatever it may be, and we hear that O'Reilly's going to be out for quite a while because he's having complications after surgery. This is a real chance for a restart. It's also a chance for a booking restart for him, and I think it depends on who he's going to be working with and what camp he's going to be working with exclusively.
And that's, the thing. That's why I say hopefully he'll be a single now and interact with different people, because they had a chance at the Undisputed Era. They take a top group from NXT that revolved around Adam, but everybody was strong, and they got 3/4 of them. And because of the way that they diminished Adam's debut originally, making him the second most famous guy that debuted in that segment, and then when they got Kyle and they got Fish, they got thrown in with the Buckaroos. And the Undisputed Era didn't translate to AEW. They weren't a top group. And everybody was underwhelming. And then Kyle gets hurt and Fish matriculates off. And right now, even if Kyle, and I love Kyle O'Reilly and I hope he gets better soon, but because the group was not over in their previous run in AEW, it would hurt Cole rather than help him if O'Reilly was back around for him to team up with, because he does need to restart completely. The group did not get over because they were booked like idiots and thrown in with the clowns.
This is the rare chance, because people pop for his music no matter what, and they like him. They want to like him. Make him a babyface, but get him away from all that shit if it's going to go right back to the drama of, hey, before you disappeared, you and your friends turned on us for no reason. And we never addressed it, now we have to. No, just ignore it. Just move on.
You know, I'll tell you something crazy, but it would work. Adam Cole as a babyface in a program with Miro as a complete heel with no funny business. You could draw some money out of that, because Cole's as a babyface, he's incredibly sympathetic in the ring with his selling and his fighting back and his expression and emotions. You'd have a big fucking wildebeest on top of him, beating the shit out of him, letting him fire up from underneath and making Hail Mary comebacks. Promos would probably be good. That's something you could put some spotlight on both guys and apply to their strengths and negate some of their weaknesses. But
do you have to be careful who you book them with, considering the concussion history?
Well, Jesus, if anybody with a concussion history working in AEW, folks, you've already taken about as many risks as you're going to take just by walking in the fucking door. No, I think you have to be careful with what he does. But if anybody knows how to work and the person that he's in there with is apprised of what limitations he wants to put on thing, I don't. Again, who would have thought, well, let's not put Anna Jay in with Willow Nightingale. A fractured skull may be a result. Actually, probably a lot of people would have thought that. Never mind, it's AEW. Anyway, the following match for the long-awaited tag team debut. I think they said Hook had a tag team match with Danhausen or something. We won't count that. But Hook and Jungle Boy against Lee Moriarty and Big Bill Dromo. And
Bill Dromo had more charisma.
Well, no, you know what? I would have laughed at that until this week. But old Big Bill wasn't half bad here. He would. Again, they had a little run here on this Wednesday night show. Lee Moriarty doesn't look bad, either athletically or visually, now that he got rid of that fucking green hair. I like Hook's shit because it's different and it's snazzy looking without being ridiculous. The way he goes into his judo throws and stuff, it's visually appealing, but still works without being incongruous to your subliminally. A lot of times when people do these fancy throws, you can see the other guy fucking wholeheartedly cooperating, but Hook looks serious about it and carries it off. And Big Bill had some heel oomph to him. He had some facial expressions and he was laying some shit in. And I think they saw that these four guys, Jungle Boy was the only one that didn't particularly stand out in any way. And he's supposedly the star. But I think these guys saw an opportunity. Hey, we get to be on TV. Let's try to get over. And they didn't do ridiculous shit that they couldn't pull off. So they got the heat on Jungle Boy, gave Hook the tag. He made a nice little comeback, bowed up to old Big Bill. And they did a little upsy-downsy, but finally Jungle Boy drop-kicked Big Bill into Hook's grasp so he could suplex him, and the place lost their fucking minds. That the big guy took and that's, again, if you build something right, it doesn't have to be off the roof through a piece of furniture while it's on fire to the fucking concrete floor with stalactites. The fact that Hook was able to hit the suplex on the big 7-foot guy after they milked it long enough got him. And then old Jungle Boy got the snare trap on Lee Moriarty and he tapped out. But this was a good job from Green Guys. Your opinion, sir?
I liked it. Let's start at the beginning, too. Stokely, you made a comment about his dress. He came out, he looked professional as a manager this week. I liked the match. You know, it's amazing. Jungle Boy and Hook actually are good together. I saw them in a promo last week, and I was like, this is the new 90210 right here. These two guys, because they look young enough together. For what it was good. It was Jungle Boy's hometown. Again, hot crowd. Big Bill, you said crowd went crazy when he took the suplex. Give him credit. He jumped. He got distance on that.
Yeah, he got height and distance and accuracy.
Good match. Good Dynamite so far.
Well, and let's follow that. And the backstage stuff, there was Renee Moxley good with Danhausen and Pockets and the Puddin' Gang, and they brought in Paul Walter, who's apparently an actor. And this was rotten in a variety of ways, but it was short. And then...
that guy was the worst character on Cobra Kai a few seasons ago.
Is this another one of these Cobra Kai motherfuckers?
Well, he's done something else. He won an award for something I haven't seen, apparently. So I'm not going to judge that, but he was the worst character on Cobra Kai by far.
All right. Well, he was the worst celebrity by far here on this program. And then Bryan Danielson faces Take a Shit 1-on-1. And as a matter of fact, before the match started, MJF made his entrance and came to the ring and cut the promo and called him Take a Shit. Anyway, he says that and he says, try not to take one in your pants. I need you to win. And then he was instead of Take a Shit being MJF's guy and him paying him, they did the promo where Take a Shit was the innocent pawn in all of this. He's just having a match, and MJF is browbeating him a little bit and mocking him and making fun of him. And then Take a Shit speaks back to him in Japanese, and MJF mocks that, and old Take says, what I said was, kiss my ass, and people pop. So they have made, and again, all of these things, each one of them individually can be great, but together I don't understand them. MJF cuts a promo on Danielson and the fans, and of course that's as the best part, as it usually is, best part of the show, and he's going to be pinning shoulders on mats and banging rats. But they bring the guy out that is going to wrestle Danielson to try to beat him, to stop him from getting the match that he desires with the heel champion. And they make that guy the babyface. By the time this whole thing was finished, the people were cheering for and behind old Take to beat Bryan Danielson, which that's a great way to make a young superstar, because they got a lot of faith in old Take, apparently. But does it fit what they're trying to do in this situation, which is MJF wants somebody to beat Danielson over the next 4 weeks so that he doesn't get a title shot? So should the people be cheering for that guy? When the whole thing first starts out, the very first match in this series, should the people be rooting for another guy to beat the top babyface so he can't get a hold of the heel champion? Do you see what I'm saying here?
No, I really like the match.
I love the match.
However,
we haven't got to the match yet.
However, the point you're making is the correct one. If we're supposed to want to see Danielson as the big babyface get his hands on MJF, we shouldn't be cheering his opponent.
Yeah,
and by the way, that audience is going to do nothing but cheer this guy because look at the kind of matches he has.
Yeah, you can do all these things, but just maybe not at the same time. But anyway, MJF introduced these celebrities in the audience. Now, again, UFC gets celebrities. WWE gets celebrities. We had Kim Jong-il, Freddie Prinze Jr., and the guy with the fucking Grammy or the Golden Globe or the Whammy or the Slammy or whatever.
I don't even remember who you're talking about now.
Paul Walter.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
Walterhausen.
That guy was back, yeah.
Yeah, but he said Freddie Prinze Jr. was a Scooby-Dooby douchebag.
And his name's not Kim Jong-il, it's Ken Jong-il.
Anyway, he got to his catchphrase, here comes Danielson's music. Danielson comes down and chases MJF up the ramp, and MJF runs like Bobby Heenan in his heyday.
Can I stop you there?
Yes, you can.
Should MJF still be that kind of heel who runs in that kind of way from the babyface he's going to be wrestling? You know, Ric Flair would back off, or I don't know if I would say run, but he would back off from a Dusty or whoever's opponent was, so you knew he was chickening out of fighting him at that moment, but he didn't just run away. Do you think that's appropriate? Do you think that's something he should still be doing?
You know what? Here's the thing. MJF is so magnetic of a personality to watch. This is his equivalent of Steve Austin's mudhole stomps. They look like shit, but they work for him. I'll buy it. The fucking run. It was... I see what you're saying, but just everything he does is he spins emotions on a dime to fit whatever the fuck's happening. But anyway, he was gone, and we have Take versus Danielson, two baby faces. Okay, now that we've established that. They started off hot wrestling, I underline, and the kid is good. I wish that I could actually pull for him and endorse him and praise him. But we've already know he comes from DDT. He's one of Twinkle Toes' pals. He's done the comedy shit. People are, as soon as I say anything good about the guy, they're going to send video of him wrestling a child, a little girl or a doll. And it's a shame because of all of the bad, subpar or just joke wrestlers that Twinkle Toes has found or brought or mined out of Japan, whether it be the girls or Nakazawa or whatever. This guy's got size. He moves well. He's got fire. His shit looks good. And he's got a likability for people. But, you know, so I'm conflicted. I can't full-throated endorse him because we know what he's done and who he's been involved with. And as soon as I do that, people are, well, look here he's fucking doing a hurricane run on a 6-year-old fucking paraplegic girl.
I agree with you, but where I'm at with this kind of stuff is this. This guy hasn't done anything stupid here yet. And I say yet because I expect it from everyone. Because that goes into my other part, which is just about everyone, unless you've been in the WWE system from day one, and then it's a different brand of stupidity. Just about everyone has been on a show or been a part of something that's just completely embarrassing to wrestling and people who care about it.
Yeah, it's true.
I think that's the sad state of wrestling. And it is a very sad thing, but...
Remember I said the last couple of years that I actually took bookings. I had to ask ahead of time. Now, the Invisible Man won't be on the show. We're not doing dance routines. I had to go down a checklist. Anyway, the match, they had a modern style match, but Danielson it can pull that off better than most. And Danielson was giving him all kinds of stuff, but Take was there for it. He was there for it. He wasn't in over his head. And they had put the fans, as we said, they manipulated the fans to his side. So especially as it went on and he was looking better and better, they well, we're going to see an upset. That's a happening, or we're just behind this guy. There's one spot Danielson went for a hurricane run off the apron of the floor, and I think the guy wasn't quite ready for it, and they fell bad but didn't get hurt. But then old Take gives Danielson a great brainbuster on the floor. That would have, as a matter of fact, in Mid-South Wrestling, that was a hospitalization angle. It looked like $1 million, and he just rolled Danielson in and went for a senton, and Danielson got his knees up 10 seconds after being brainbustered on the floor. A guy with a history of concussions.
Yeah, DiBiase disappeared to Japan, but the fans didn't know that. But he disappeared off TV for a few weeks after that, at least.
Yes. So, because they can do these things doesn't mean they should. Unless it's an angle to make money. Nobody will ever remember that move again. That was in a match. Anyway. The people were behind old Take. They exchanged the forearms. And if you saw take a shit, whatever. Now I can't even pronounce his real name.
What do they say though? They go, is it Takeshita? Is that what it is?
Takeshita or whatever the fuck. Old Take.
Or that.
I'll just go back to that. He won the forearm exchange and hit a big clothesline and hit a great wheelbarrow suplex. And then Danielson sidestepped a charge and hit that running knee. What is the bukkake knee?
It's not that.
And Take took an awesome bump. Unbelievable bump. It looked like a mid-cover. 1, 2, kick. It was a 2 count. And I'm thinking, wait, okay, then they got to be putting him over. But then how would that screw up the rest of the angle? And Danielson hits the stomps and then gets a crossface, and the referee called it because Take was already out. Seriously. After what? That's the way I've said Bryan Danielson. So he's a great talent, but he's so worked up in having the modern style matches that I think sometimes he loses track of how to make shit make sense and or pop people.
Hey, if I could ask you a question, because this one actually was one that I noticed earlier when I looked. People are already sending into the drive-thru. What are your thoughts on that as a finish, the guy passing out in a move?
Under the right circumstances, it's in Bret Hart and Steve Austin at WrestleMania. That was A1, right? Because that was the point. The business of this match was, correct me if I'm wrong here, as I run through this checklist. Danielson has to win this match to continue on to win all the matches till he gets MJF. So Danielson's got to win, right?
I believe so.
But they also want to, obviously, give Take as good a match as possible and get the people behind him and make him a bigger star in this process, or elsewise he wouldn't have had been this close and almost beaten Bryan Danielson, correct?
You would think, but there's no guarantees considering the booking.
Well, okay. So then, since Danielson's going to win, but it needs to be with Take looking as strong as possible, then explain to me why when Take hit the wheelbarrow suplex and then charged at Danielson, but Danielson sidestepped him and hit that running knee, and Take took the awesome bump and Danielson covered him, that couldn't have been the 1, 2, 3. The place would have popped. What a fucking match. They were up for it. It came out of nowhere. It gave Take it out because he was on the offense until the final blow was landed. And at the same time, Danielson wins convincingly, but instead, no. 2 count, then stomp the shit out of the guy and get a fucking submission hold on a dead body. Modern wrestling.
If he wins the next match and the match after that with the same finish, where he not submits, but the guy passes out in the move, does it make more sense? Is it more palatable then?
Yeah, then just don't have Take being the one to be the first one to fucking do that. If you want to have your match where you make Take a star, don't have it as part of a match or a series of matches where you're going to have Danielson put a fucking submission hold on a dead body. All of these things can happen, just not at the same fucking time. But it was a good match. Moving along, Renee Moxley Good was in the back with Juice Robinson, who sounds like Downtown Bruno on helium. Did you hear? I've never heard him talk, I don't think, before. Maybe once, but okay. Another Japanese favorite. All righty, then. The big tag team match that we've all been waiting for, that people, for whatever reason, got all convinced, like the Saudi sale the other night, they got all convinced that Mercedes Banks or Sasha Monet, whoever
Mercedes Monet,
whatever, that she was going to be the mystery partner here, even though that then they picked Tony Storm to be the mystery partner on last week's TV, and old Hikaru Shida was offended by that. But it's Storm and Soraya against Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter.
And every fan thinks everything's a swerve now because that's the way they've been trained.
Yes. And every fan also did not seem to agree that it was Soraya's house, because they had chants for the heels when the baby faces were beating on them, and cheers for the heels when they foiled, especially Soraya. I think they still kind of like Toni Storm. But then as it went on, they started booing Storm finally. This wasn't nearly as bad as most AEW women's matches all are, because most of their best female talent and Soraya were in it. But again, the heels are the ones the people are cheering for to win. The baby faces are the ones the people are against. And at one point after the break, when they came back, Soraya screamed, "This is my house." And Britt Baker reached her leg up and kicked Soraya right in the face, and the fans cheered it. Can you imagine if fucking the fans cheered when, I don't know, goddamn Triple H hit Austin with a sledgehammer while he was about to say Austin 316? So whenever the baby faces were in control, the people were not happy, and everything kind of slowed down. And then it got a little, at the end, they went off on a side road. It took forever to set up Britt Baker giving Toni Storm some kind of move off the top rope. They got a 2 count. They did an awkward 4-way with false finishes and saves. And at one point, Soraya and Britt Baker looked lost, so they rolled out to the floor. And then Hayter and Storm went back and forth and had a double knockout. And Reba drew the referee, and there Shida has come down to ringside. Of course, she slides the kendo stick in. The old deal where who did she mean to give it to? Because there's Britt Baker's laying in one place, or not Britt, but who the fuck? No, Britt, the 2 girls. See, this is complicated. Toni Storm and Jamie Hayter had the double knockout, and Shida slides the stick in between both of them, so you can't tell who she was sliding it to, but Britt Baker rolls in and gets it and hits Storm in the back, and then Hayter hits her finish. And 1, 2, 3, and the fans cheer the fuck. And I've said the fuck finish is what they're cheering. And Shida was stunned, but again, if you're going to use the gimmick, why didn't Britt Baker just get in the ring and fucking whack Toni Storm over the head with the fucking thing, and she go down and Jamie Hayter cover her? Because that's a heel fuck. When you use the gimmick and then just knock somebody into the heel's finish. The referee's back was turned. But again, the fans cheered for the heels fucking the baby faces. And Shida obviously was conflicted over the whole thing. What are your thoughts, Brian, briefly?
I'll keep them very brief. I didn't really want to watch this. I didn't watch too much of it. I was a little curious how much Soraya would do physically. I'm still curious. I wanted to see if Jamie Hayter was going to work with her. I wanted to see what was going to happen here. But again, the crowd isn't as into this as the other matches, and this is typically the part of the show where people start thinking about doing other things, and that's what I was doing.
Well, the next thing they did, the Jericho appreciators came to the ring, all 8 of them. There's now 8 people in this group, and they were all dressed like the fabulous ones in Memphis. Like they just fucking raided Lane and Kern's fucking closet. And they start crowing about putting Starks through the table. And then, of course, Stark's music plays, and here he comes. He comes out to the stage with Action Andretti alongside of him. And they did a back and forth, and Action got to talk. But I've got to be honest, this was just bickering and just childishness. Action Andretti's trying to get Garcia mad at Sammy because Sammy's supposed to be Garcia's, a mentor, but nothing of import necessarily was said. Starks called Jericho Count Succula and told Gilligan Hager he was a village idiot, but again challenged Hager for next week for a match, and Hager manages a weak rebuttal and does comedy about his hat or whatever, and he accepted the challenge by saying next week he was going to slap his face off his face. And the segment never got going anywhere, but there was no technical difficulties and nobody said fuck on the microphone. So that's pretty much all I had for this.
Yeah, it never really went anywhere, but on the bright side, it also sucked. This was terrible. This was just a terrible segment, terribly thought out, terribly conceived. People are going to pop for Jericho's music, but these segments bomb. They're just awful. Jesus.
And maybe they ought to just name it the karaoke segment where everybody gets to say, but yeah, this never went anywhere. But here's the
Garcia should never be on the mic again. Every time he gets on the mic, I think he's less and less of a star. Every time.
Well, boy, you're beating me because I've never thought he was a star to begin with. But no, he shouldn't be on the microphone. But think about this. We've had the best match ever between Moxley and Hangnail, right? That was pretty good. Adam Cole, great promo. Hook and Jungle Boy, Moriarty and Big Bill Dromo, they did the best they could for green guys. Danielson and Take a Shit was a great match, even if insane psychology. And then, you know, it wasn't, the girls didn't stink the joint out like usual. I'm sure the viewers departed at some numbers, but so far, besides the booking, pretty good. And then the Jericho appreciators come in. The best thing you can say about it was it wasn't as long as their shit normally is. And I'm thinking this may have been one of the better programs by accident that Dynamite has ever presented. And then they said, and here's what's next. It's the best of 7 finals. And I thought, you know what? I like this show for the most part, except for the previous segment. It's 9:40 p.m. Eastern time. I know what I'm about to see because it's the same thing every time. There were random empty tables set up around the ring for the Buckaroos ladder match with the Bermuda Triangle. And I just clicked the fucking thing off so that I could get out on a positive note without having anything bad, necessarily horrible to say about AEW. So, big surprise, the Elite won the best of 7 series. Wouldn't you know who won the pony? And I assume it was basically the same tomfoolery that they have done every week for the past 2 months for 20 minutes. Am I correct?
Yes, but with ladders.
But with ladders. Well, there you go.
Well, there you go. That was AEW Dynamite.
Who watched this thing? I heard the overall rating was up, but what was the pattern of ratings?
The ratings this week, AEW Dynamite on the 11th of January did 957,000 viewers.
So that sounds good. I'm going to say at the top of this thing, I don't know what the competition was on other channels or people's various viewing patterns, but if I was watching a wrestling program, as I was, I don't see any natural place that anybody would have tuned out or said, boy, this sucks, until we get to the girls' tag and then the Jericho appreciators. But I know that they probably lost a significant amount of people early because they always do, because they're getting big bang people that ain't sticking around. But what were they? Give us the scoop.
Well, segment 1, which was Adam Page versus Jon Moxley, 1,087,000 viewers. Segment 2, which is the end of that match, as well as the beginning, or I guess the entirety of the Adam Cole promo, 959,000 viewers.
Ouch! So, okay, that just means that 100 and something thousand of these people just couldn't find the remote to change the channel, because if you were going to watch the first 15 minutes of this show, and everything I've said about Moxley and Page, this was not one of their matches you would switch off if you gave a shit about this wrestling program at all. So that's what they're dealing with in this first segment, almost with whatever they put in there. All right, so that's 128,000 people they lost.
Segment 3, the team of Jungle Hook versus Big Bill and Lee Moriarty, as well as the Best Friends and Paul Walter interaction, did 993,000 viewers.
Wait a minute. How the fuck? Wait a minute. Okay, something screwy. How did they get another 34,000 people to jump back in for that?
Either a lot of people
over Moxley and Page.
Either a lot of people really wanted to see Hook, or Paul Walter Hauser, whatever his name is.
Walterhausen.
Well, he's got his own fans.
All right, that's an anomaly.
Segment 4, this would be the MJF promo before the match, as well as the Takeshita versus Bryan Danielson match. 940,000 viewers. The start of that match, at least. Let me clarify.
Okay, so again, the weakest segment, really, of the show at this point has drawn the second biggest quarter hour, and that ballbuster match with Danielson and Take plus MJF dropped another 53,000.
Hey, listen, this is coming right after that Best Friends promo. So you have this actor, you have Danhausen, you have Orange Cassidy of the Best Friends. That was when I walked away and went to the kitchen. How many other people you think did the same thing?
Well, that might be a byproduct.
Well, the 9 o'clock hour, which is segment 5, the Danielson versus Takeshita match, as well as the Juice Robinson promo, 981,000 viewers.
Okay, so they picked up another 41,000, and this is a part of the program where they never pick people up in sizable numbers. So that Danielson and Take hooked them. No pun intended to poor Hook.
Well, let's go to 9:15, which is Soraya and Toni Storm versus Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, as well as the Eddie Kingston and Ortiz promo.
Oh, we forgot. They don't like each other, and they're going to have a tag match on Friday, I guess.
Oh, yeah, watch it on Rampage. The House of Black now kind of walked off with Ortiz, and Eddie Kingston once again is laying in the ring, even though the fans love him.
So Ortiz is black now?
I did not say that, and you're not saying that. He's maybe friends with the House of Black. He's a friend of Black.
He's not full-fledged. He's just honorary. He's not officially black.
Well, let's wherever we're going, let's get back to these ratings here. That segment right there, 976,000 viewers.
That is better than normal again this late in the show, and not a significant drop at all.
Segment 7, Chris Jericho masturbating all over American television, 893,000 viewers.
Ooh, so the Ocho lost. Ocho, wait a minute, 7.
Got Ocho 100,000 viewers.
Ocho, he lost 7. I can't do the math. He lost Ocho Cuatro thousand people, 84,000.
And finally, the last segment, segment 8, the Elite versus Death Triangle ladder match, 907,000 viewers.
And they ended up getting 14,000 back from Jericho running everybody off, and that was the second lowest quarter. So the two lowest quarter hours of the entire program were Jericho and the Bermuda Triangle against the Cucamonga Kids. So they actually kept, that is the most amazing rating pattern that they have had since they've been on the air. After the initial drop of people running off after the Big Bang Theory was over, they not only kept most of the ones they kept, but they actually raised them a few quarters until they got to Jericho and the 6-man. And then a bunch of people said, fuck it. And that's basically what I did. As soon as I saw Jericho's segment, I said, it's been a good show. I know what's coming up. I'm done. So that makes sense.